big shout out to my people at Louisiana Tech. I'm a research associate there. They're really growing my knowledge, and I'm just happy to give advisement to their students and their staff. It's run by Dr. David Zemansky, who is a legendary sports science researcher in baseball performance. He's assisted by Dr. Chow, who is a biomechanics and motor learning specialist. And altogether, I think we got a great thing going on. But I want to highlight a student's research. His name's Matoki Sakurai. He's an up-and-coming sports scientist. He's gone on to do his PhD. And what he looked at was jump variables and momentum and throwing velocity. So he's looking at the connection of all those things. And what we found is kind of crazy because we saw big effects. We saw big effect sizes with his research, is that it really refuted a lot of things that we think about. One, mass doesn't equal gas. Lean mass equals gas. So we saw that the harder throwing athletes, when we compared these two college groups, they had greater lean mass. So it's kind of intuitive. You need to have that mass that contracts so that you can create body speed. And then we also saw in those high velocity pitchers that they had greater momentum in all the planes. They had greater linear momentum towards home plate. They had greater frontal plane momentum. They also had greater transverse momentum. And what momentum is mass times velocity. So whether it's angular or it's linear, those are two properties, and they just had a higher momentum because they had more muscle mass and they were able to move faster, propelled them towards home plate and rotated them at a way higher rate. So that was incredible to see that's a big thing that we can influence. We can gain lean mass with our athletes. We can also improve their velocity, by improving power. So now I'm talking about power. Let's go to the jump information when we look between these high and low velocity groups for pitchers. You might think if I just jump higher, it's going to make me throw harder. Well, I'll tell you, between the two groups, slow and fast, they had no difference in jump heights. Okay, absolutely not statistically significant. It was not significant at all. They actually jumped statistically the same. Okay, so we know that wasn't a big differentiator. So now we look to other metrics, and what we found is that the peak force, the total peak force, the absolute force, that mattered. Higher velocity throwing athletes, they just had higher peak forces. And then we took it to another step further that had even greater effects between the two groups, and that was absolute power. And absolute power is that relativity between the body size, the force, and the velocity that is achieved when these athletes are jumping off the ground. So the moral of the story, you want the athletes to gain lean mass, you want to get them to move faster, and you need to generate higher levels of lower body power. So you need to be pretty strategic with your plyometric training, your lean mass development, and that can influence the athlete's body speed to produce higher velocity. Thanks for listening to this edition of ArmCare Effects. Until next time.